Hey yo, what's up everyone? It is your boy Spider-Man 21 and welcome to another video by your boy Spider-Man 21. Oh boy, guys. So, yesterday I went to go to the movie theaters to watch Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse. A movie, mind you, that I made like a reaction to, like a couple of months ago to check out things and had some weird strike or whatever. That's not here or there, but it was just like I made a reaction video of like the new Spider-Man movie that's a sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and yeah, it was a pretty good video. And now I finally watched it yesterday, and all I gotta say is it was really good, guys. It was so awesome. Like I'm talking about like this is got to be like the best film ever. No, straight up, it just feels like it's like the best film ever. Like best animations, best choreography. I mean, for an animation, of course. Just yeah, speaking about your best animation, best music. I mean, let's not forget how Into the Spider-Verse had like some really great music in there, and Across the Spider-Verse definitely hit the nail on the coffin. I mean, let's not forget, how Miguel O'Hara like came back with his own theme like doo 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 doo. Oh man, that was awesome. Yeah, it was a really good movie. It was really thrilling, and it left with a big cliffhanger. That's gonna be like, a big thing that's coming up for, I'm assuming, Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, which they're gonna be doing at some point. Although I did heard that they were gonna do, Beyond the Spider-Verse next year in March 2024, but I guess it's getting canceled, or not canceled, but I'm guessing it's getting delayed for either yet, next couple years, or it might be delayed to late 2024, but we'll see what happens. Otherwise, I'm still gonna be excited to watch Spider-Man, the Spider-Verse and whatnot, and see the conclusion of it at some point. But otherwise, yeah, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was golden tier, man. That shit was really good. Like, I absolutely enjoyed it from beginning all the way up to the end, and man, it did not disappoint whatsoever. Because again, I have like been kind of like bombarded, well, not bombarded, but I've been kind of just like losing a little bit of faith with like what's going on with Marvel, especially with the current iterations of like some of the movies sometimes, and also the comic books. Like, oh god, the comic books have just not been just it as of lately, and especially Spider-Man comic books. Like, holy shit, you do not understand how pissed off I was when they just kept on not only just keep this exact same status quo for so goddamn long, and not actually growing the characters as you probably should. They just want to just throw in some random bullshit that doesn't make sense at all. There's gonna be like, heck, even like, for example, they killed off, what was her face, Miss Marvel, which was so stupid because she's not even integral to the whole Spider-Man story. So why did you kill her off? But otherwise, it was dumb. But otherwise, the Spider-Verse, the movies, like animated movies, have been phenomenal, especially Into Spider-Verse. Like, seriously, that movie within itself, even though it came out in 2018 or 2018, I don't know, it came out around there, and it was just phenomenal. It was really good. It pretty much reactivated my love for the Spider-Man series, especially how well written Miles Morales was, and it was just great. The I can't even speak right now. I'm too excited that I can't even speak for some reason. Oh my god.
You're all tongue-tied, kid.
Tongue-tied. Yeah, anyways. Speaking of which, with Across the Spider-Verse, man, where to start off with that, man? Where to start off? I mean, it pretty much starts off with, I guess now with like Spider-Gwen, with her situation. It starts off with like the Vulture from a completely different time period coming to her universe, and I think it was a Renaissance version of the Vulture. He looked pretty cool. I ain't gonna lie. Like his like art style was really awesome, and heck, they even had some Da Vinci art too, which was cool to see because I think that Vulture, Pacific Vulture, is actually loosely based off the Da Vinci painting of like what was it, the body, the human perfect body. I don't know what it's called, but it's that one art where it's a man who has like a couple like has like four legs and four arms. It was it's a trip to see sometimes, but it's one of those like famous arts, and it's loosely based off that, and it looked absolutely amazing. And the Across the Spiderverse, and then we get introduced to like characters like Miguel O'Hara, which he ended up having like an insane debut. Well, actually not insane debut because in the post-credit scene of Into the Spider-Verse, which damn, unfortunately I never got to see, but like thankfully, afterwards, after watching some YouTube videos here and there, but yeah, uh, Spider-Man 2099 pops up out of nowhere and is like iconic. Do 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 do. I don't know how I can like justify his like theme song. If you guys have not heard it, go check it out. It's interesting. It's like it gets onto your like system a little bit because it's eerie. It's scary, and like when he popped up, I was like, whoa, hold on a second. Is this really 2099 Spider-Man? Because he looked super buff in this movie, like straight up. Like this man is like like so big that he would even make like current bodybuilders look like they're chumps, and that's really saying a lot. That's really saying a lot because it's a different ballgame. But otherwise, Miguel O'Hara was a freaking beast, man. Like straight up, I'm talking about like he will crush your skull if he really, really wants to. And the thing is, he's not afraid to fucking do that. But otherwise, it was cool to see him. Jessica Drew, this is a different version of Jessica Drew, the Spider-Woman. So this is like, black woman, so she's cool and stuff, but I feel like in the movie, like she does play somewhat of an important role, but I don't know, because she doesn't necessarily, I don't know, I guess to me, like she did play a role, but it just didn't feel like she played a role. You know what I'm saying, right? Like she is important to the story, for obvious reasons, with Spider-Gwen and all this other stuff. But it's like, I don't know. Anyways, back on track. Miguel O'Hara and Jessica Drew, come to help out, the Vulture situation, take him out and whatnot. And afterwards, Spider-Gwen ends up, I think revealing her identity to her cop to a cop, which is like her dad or whatnot. And what I liked about the scene was that, instead of like, a loving parent, trying to like understand the situation, kind of like, what Uncle Aaron had to like, see with like, with when he realizes that, Miles is, Spider-Man or whatnot, and it's instead of like, going into problem mode, just like kill, his own nephew and whatnot, he decided to, put his like, cow down like this and just like let him be, and then get shot. Whereas in this scene, like the beginning part, what was the dude's name? Hold on a second. Okay, guys, I'm back. The cop's name was actually George Stacy. Did I get it right? Yep. George Stacy. Yep. That would be Captain Stacy. For everyone that doesn't know, that is Gwen Stacy's father, who I believe died in a comic book like a very long time ago, like way before like Gwen died, which is crazy to think about. But otherwise, I think this was happening when Spider-Man was, I wouldn't say he wasn't like seasoned yet, but like he was. I think this would have been like maybe his first 2 years into being Spider-Man, and then I think Captain Stacy dies, by trying to save a child and whatnot, which ends up being like something very important a lot later as we get into the story. But otherwise, in the Across the Spider-Verse, Captain Stacy, realizes that Spider-Gwen is, or sorry, Spider-Woman is his daughter, and what ends up happening is instead of becoming a loving parent, trying to understand the situation, even if it's a little bit confusing, instead what ends up happening is he tries to arrest Spider-Woman because of, the whole situation with Peter Parker's death and all this other stuff, which then causes more issues. Then, he gets a hit with the whatever device, like, trap him for a bit, and then Gwen had to pretty much leave her own universe, presumably for good, because, that situation just happened. And then it gets to the part where, we see our boy Miles Morales, you know, I almost exactly 1 year after, being Spider-Man, and he's been killing it. And yeah, he's kind of been juggling with his, Spider-Man life to, you know, his regular life with his, parents and whatnot, trying to get in school, trying to fit in with all this other stuff. Basically, the whole duality that every Spider-Man pretty much faces is like, you know, you have this going on where you're pretending to be Spider-Man, whereas in the other life, you have your normal life where it's just, it's, it can be like really rough at times. I mean, it really can be, and it was taking a toll on Miles Morales a lot because he kept on missing a lot of like classes, a lot of places, and just not showing up to very important events because he had to like constantly have to deal with these bad guys, including Spot, which, funny enough, at first he was just, considered a joke. Like, oh, he's like the run of the mill type of villain that you don't even take seriously. You just be like, man, you stupid. I could just beat you down. You're like a punch bag all the time. And then I guess like just being made fun of like so many times that he's not being taken as a serious villain really started to irk him a lot more, especially when he starts to like state like the following that no, me and you are destined to be rivals or destined to be enemies for the rest of time or whatnot to Miles Morales, of course. But Miles is like, oh, whatever, you're just a run-of-the-mill joke, you're not even worth my competition. And boy took that personally. I mean, he really took that personally, but that's for later. But otherwise, I don't know if I would have get into too much scenes because I would like kind of be a bit lost in plot. But I'll definitely say Spot is gonna get defeated by kicking himself into his own dimension. Set up like events that will like transpire across the Spiderverse where he starts to like gain knowledge of his powers and whatnot. But before we get to that, it's just like we get to the part where Spider-Man, Miles Morales, as Spider-Man, has that like moment with with his dad, of course, Officer Davis or whatnot. And I love to see where he just says like, maybe he should get off his own ass, or the whole like spread your wings like this. It was so stupid, but it was so good because those moments like actually mean a lot, especially when we get to later. But otherwise, afterwards, you know, Miles finally shows up, and then his parents are obviously like, nah, like why haven't you been like consistent as of lately, yada yada yada, and just a lot of other stuff, especially when he had to like get those cakes for the party or whatnot. And afterwards, they were just grounded him for like I guess 2 months or whatnot. And Miles was like just not having it. It was just a lot to handle. And hey, he's a 50-year-old. Like there was a lot of times even at that age where even I had to like deal with a lot of like just too much crap going on from school to life. Yeah, man, like the teenage years, man. Although it can be sometimes a good time to like look back on or like look ahead forward to see how it's gonna be. But sometimes it just exists as a teenager, man. It don't matter if you're a boy or girl. It's a completely different story. It's just like you're basically like kind of the middle child between a kid and adult. And the thing is, you're too old to be doing certain things, but yet you're too young to be doing adult things. It's very confusing, and it's just like it's hard to like juggle a lot of like responsibilities, especially at that age. And it really like shows with like Miles where it's just like he's just kind of had enough of all of that, and wants to do his own thing, kind of. And then I believe what ends up happening is, Miles kind of just chills in his room, listens to music. Basically, what was kicked off from, Into Spider-Verse ending. But this time around, Gwen shows up. And, they have a little chit chat about, how it was, to like finally see each other. And it was just a cute scene to see, them chilling. You know, in his room, and then just so many embarrassing moments of like your loved one or someone that you love and care about looks into your like embarrassing things that you love that you don't want nobody seeing for any sort of reason, but then your crush kind of like sees it and you're like, ah, fuck me, like arts that you have like probably drawn with them like a couple more times and all this other stuff. Like, I mean, I don't think that has happened in my personal experience, but otherwise, yeah, man, like I can relate to that. Because, again, not too long ago, I was a teenager doing all that weird shit. Look back at it, I'm like, damn, what the hell was I doing? But besides that, it was a great scene between, Miles Morales and Gwen. And it was just so wholesome to see that. And, golly, their relationship is also wholesome, too. My favorite part from them was, like, when they're, like, upside down, hanging. That one was just beautiful to see, just how much like their chemistry has like evolved from Into the Spider-Verse, and then like that one iconic scene where it was just like two of them hanging upside down, looking at the building, just having a nice little deep conversation about life, and it was nice to see. And then of course Miles getting a little jelly because she mentioned a man named Hobbs, which will be important later as well. But otherwise, yeah. It was just like those little moments where it's just like it just matters a lot. And then of course Rio being a great mother to Miles Morales, telling her I'm sorry, telling him that whatever happens to you, like whenever you come home, please protect yourself, protect the inner boy in you, basically saying please protect your inner self and know that don't let anyone else tell you that you do not belong. And that line right there hits me so much because, in fact, I think I'll get into it a little later about that, but just in the relation of like the word "you do not belong," we'll get into it later. But just that moment with like Rio saying all that to Miles Morales is something that actually like happens to me all the time too, where like when I was a lot younger and just having to deal with life or whatnot, I know. Every now and then I would like have some issues going on, and then my mom always like being there from a lot of things, man. And I don't know if I want to get too deep into it, but it's just like I went through a lot as a kid, and it was just like having my mom there, just comfort me through it all, and just like telling me that it's okay, I love you, you're important to me, and just all types of great stuff, even like to the point of just like saying like you do belong, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise, that your existence is a burden or whatnot, because it's not. And I'll get into it a little later, but shout out to my mom for that. Like she did a fantastic job at that. But yeah, besides that, it was great to like hear that from Rio, the mom of Miles Morales, saying all that. And then, like, Miles having to follow Gwen to find a spot and whatnot. And, I don't know, there's, like, so many details I was, like, missing. So, I think I might probably save this for, like, a Weep Talk episode. But I just want to just get to, like, the gist of, like, just the big parts of it. So, anyways, I'm just going to skip to the part where it's, like, really, really gets good. So, they enter the, Miles and Gwen into the portal to where I believe the Indian Spider-Man exists there. I think it's a different version of Manhattan. I think it's Mohattan or whatever it's called. And let's just say, hey, the visuals in there looks cool. And hey, the Indian Spider-Man was so cool to see. He was like definitely very cheery and uppity about life and just having a freaking amazing time there, just being Spider-Man and whatnot, which is like cool to see, And then when they get to like Alchemax, the Spot is already there doing his thing, and golly, he's getting a little bit more menacing because he got a lot more spots on his body, and I don't know, the visuals of like Spot, especially at the end, like, whew, it looks good. But otherwise, yeah, no, like Spot ends up becoming like a threat too. And then this is where we also like not only like meet Indian Peter Parker or Indian Spider-Man, but also Spider-Punk, which Spider-Punk is fucking awesome in this movie. Like straight up, like, oh my fucking god, There has never been such like a character that is this likable and it's fucking cool. Like straight up, like the way he just like came out of nowhere was like yeah with the fucking guitar. It was just cool to see. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, it was just cool to see that, and I was so excited because I'm like, Spider-Punk is like actually one of my favorite characters, and just to see him again is awesome. And this iteration is like my personal favorite, and you will see why in a minute why he's my personal favorite. Because especially when he starts to like how about Miles Morales and a lot of like very secretive ways, because he is against the system, rage against the machine type of person, anarchy and all that good stuff. Like, it just feels great because Spider-Punk is fucking awesome, and he becomes super duper important later. Like he really does, because he pays the way to like how about his friends, like Gwen and Indian Peter Parker, or sorry, Indian Spider-Man, and the rest. Like it just like he becomes a key player when you'll soon see him in like the Spider Society, but not, which we'll be getting to pretty soon. But yeah, we get to the dark matter part, yada yada. The Spider-Man show up, and then they take Miles Morales to the Spider-Man Society, and then I gotta say, like, it was it was mesmerizing to see all the Spider-Mans. It was like so hard to like pick like so many like references, but it was just like, oh god, there were so many cameo appearances. There was so many like craziness just going on with that. It was cool to see. It was visually pleasing, and I think that there's like some anomalies that they were showing too that were like interesting to see. And bro, Donald Glover as the Prowler was a shock to see, because it's the same version of Aaron Davis from MCU, but he's now the Prowler. But and the way that they shot like that version of the Prowler played by Donald Glover to show Miles Morales, just showing like there is a lot of connection with it, because let's just say that without Donald Glover we would not have Miles Morales in any sort of way. Like without Donald Glover himself, we would not have Miles Morales. So that scene where they just like spend a little bit of time just like showing like the connection between those, it meant a lot, because I was like, yes, this is the same guy that gave us fucking Miles Morales and the whole entire Spider-Verse. Well, really, it's the game, Shattered Dimensions, really, but otherwise, without Shattered Dimensions and Donald Glover, we would not have Miles Morales. Like straight up, like I'm not playing with that. But otherwise, so many cameos, of course. My boy Insomniac Peter Parker was there. Oh, sorry, not Insomniac Peter Parker, my bad. Insomniac Spider-Man was there, and it was just cool to see. And then we finally get to see Miguel O'Hara. Oh boy, Miguel, man, you need to chill, man. What's been going on with you, man? But it's revealed, some tragic event happened, but otherwise, when he was like explaining, the canon events, which, as a matter of fact, let's go ahead and get into a little bit of the canon events. So apparently, in every canon event that happens in the Spider-Verse, a a person gets bit by a radioactive spider, they become Spider-Man. Then yada yada, they still deal with tragedies. Their Uncle Ben or their any type of person that really like matters to them. It could be like a cousin, it could be a friend, it could be a brother, it could be anybody else. Something that's a big figure in their life. Something bad happens to them that causes them to become Spider-Man or a spider person. Then apparently there was also like in every like universe, a cop has to die. A captain of whatever has to die. Starting with Captain Stacy from like way long ago. Starting from there all the way up to like other characters dying, and Captain Stacy died in the TASM series, the Amazing Spider-Man, and that was briefly cameoed, and just so many like things was cameoed that's like considered canon events, and then like it's kind of like then it like starts like revealing that Miles Morales, his dad is going to soon be a captain or whatnot. And then when he has that like flashback, like going way back, where he has that vision of the future that like Officer Davis and the guy that he ended up saving in the Indian Spider-Man's universe, where like Yeah. Where it's just like it just goes back and forth with that, where they're both trying to like save a kid, and then something tragic happens to them and they die. And same with like Officer Davis. It was like really like getting to Miles, because it was like, no, that's not gonna happen. Like, no, please. And when he tells like Miguel that he needs to go home to obviously go see his dad so he can save him or whatnot, Miguel was like, no, you cannot do that because it's a canon event. If you disrupt the canon event so many times, it's going to cause the whole entire universe to collapse. Even though I would have to argue, because there's a theory going around that the reason why that whole situation with Miguel O'Hara, as to why he's like all like broody was or whatnot, was because he stayed in a universe that he did not technically belong to for way too long, causing some type of event that for now it's like kind of left ambiguous. But I'm kind of inclined to say that it's some sort of incursion. I think it's like talking about Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, although I've not seen that movie, but I think I've heard that like if you stay in a universe for that does not belong to you for so long, it can cause like a whole immersion or I know I just had that in time. Immersion. I think intrusion or immersion intrusion. I think it's intrusion. Yeah, where like the universe is like collapsing within itself, and I think I'm more inclined that happened than like it was like he's not supposed to be there because canon events like all this other stuff. So we'll see how it plays out. But then it ends with like them trying to like arrest Miles Morales. Miles Morales breaks up. As a matter of fact, shit, I should put this as spoilers. Anyways, I put that in the title that this is gonna be a spoiler for the movie, so don't worry, guys. I'll put that in the title. But otherwise, yeah, this is a spoiler from Across the Spiderverse. So if you guys have not watched that, go check it out. But otherwise, let's just keep it going. Yeah, they try to like surround Miles Morales to try capture him because apparently, which will be revealed later, Miles Morales is an anomaly, and it will be very important later as Miles Morales breaks out of the shield when like Hobbs, my boy Hobbs, what I'm saying, was helping him out. Well, here's the thing: before we even get to that point, Hobbs was like out here like stealing some equipment, just like secretly, and then he tells like Miles Morales about like this whole like, do you really trust these guys? Do you really think that you could trust a conspiracy? Basically, he's telling him like, do not believe in the bullshit that they're probably gonna say, because they'll probably get at you after doing his all cool thing. But otherwise, in that moment when he like tells like Miles to calm down, he's like, hey man, I understand what's going on. What I want you to do is just have your hands up, just like how I taught you. He didn't say it like that, but like he's implying like just like how I taught you. And then like Miles Morales like recognizes like, okay, I see what you're doing, and then does like the full thing, breaks out of it, and just starts going swinging and just like basically trying to like run for his life. Which, dude, it was so cool to see. Like all those like Spider-Man's trying to capture him and whatnot. It was so cool to see. It really was. And again, mesmerizing to like even like explain a lot of that. So it would be a disservice for me to like explain all that. So again, go check it out because it's so cool to see. But while that's happening, Miguel like finally catches up to him and starts wailing on him, saying like, you don't belong here. In fact, the reason why you don't belong here is that you're an anomaly. Oh, the spider, hold on, I'm stuttering. The spider that bit you was not supposed to bit you. It was supposed to bite its own version of Miles Morales. You were not supposed to be him. Basically telling us that that Spider-Man, or sorry, that spider, radioactive spider, was not part of Miles Morales's universe, which is 16110. But the spider actually comes from Earth 42. Yep. So there's Earth 16110, which is like our main Miles Morales that we are grown accustomed to from the Into and Across the Spiderverse, and also the upcoming sequel that's going to be coming up at some point, Beyond the Spider-Verse. And yeah, apparently that spider was supposed to bite Earth 42's Miles Morales, making him the Spider-Man. However, that spider was actually transported because one of the alchemists, scientists, or whatever, the guy who ends up becoming Spot, transported that particular spider to do some experiment, and then I guess like the spider left somehow, and then it ended up biting Miles Morales, so causing the whole anomaly, and then like Miguel uttering words like "You are the original anomaly, and I have to destroy you, and we gotta make sure that we correct that." And yeah, I ain't gonna lie, like Miguel, you gotta chill, bro. But otherwise, afterwards, that happened, and when here's that like Peter B. Parker. Oh, speaking of which, why did I just forget to mention Peter B. Parker? Because, guys, not only Peter B. Parker was fucking awesome, especially in Into Spider-Verse, guess what he ended up, introducing, which is even more fucking amazing. Mayday Parker. Oh my god, Mayday Parker is so fucking cute. Please protect that baby at all motherfucking costs. And what's crazy is that the writers will outright refuse. They even like mocked the fact that if Peter Parker gets with Mary Jane, there won't be a Mayday Parker, and it would be a great thing because we don't have to deal with a little child or whatnot. I'm like, fuck you guys, because Mayday Parker is so awesome that it defies any expectation as to why Mayday Parker is awesome, especially baby Mayday Parker, because that baby's so fucking awesome. She's so cute. Godly Peter B. Parker, man, I love you, man. Like, I love you. So like, but anyways, back to the situation. So Peter B. Parker tells Gwen like, we can't say anything about like the plan that we agreed on, that they knew that Officer Dave was going to die, and they didn't need to let him know. So then basically Miles was like, you know what, fine, I guess I'm on my own, and decides to utter lines like what was it, everyone is telling me that this and that, or I'm paraphrasing, but it's something in the lines of just like, everyone is telling me how I should and shouldn't act, and how my story is supposed to be. Nah, I'm gonna do it my own way. And going back to that sentiment that was like said with like Ryu, I can also relate to that. Well, actually, yeah, I can relate to that too, because like every single time people have like said so many times like, oh, you don't belong here, oh, you don't deserve this, you don't deserve that, all you will ever be is destined to be this way, and that's it. And it's just like it's such a stupid fate thing, where it's like oh, you're fated to be like this, and it's just ridiculous, because apparently I was fated to fail or whatnot, when now if you look at me right now, I'm succeeding or whatnot. But otherwise, I live by that statement very, very well, because I pretty much defied everything, from expectations and all this other stuff, which I guess in Miguel's eyes, I'm technically the anomaly, but it's just so stupid. But otherwise, yeah, I can relate to that, this feeling like, oh, you don't belong here or whatnot. It's like, it's a stupid thing, because you know what, you do belong. You do belong to anything. And on top of that, no one should tell you what you can and cannot do, because if you can do what you want to do with your life, do it. Again, as long as you don't harm yourself or another person or anybody else, go for it. But otherwise, let's get back on track with okay. After he said that, he kicks Miguel in the face and then goes for a leap of fate. And that was the last time we ever saw Miles, because then afterwards we get to the part where he cocoons himself to like go to a different, go to presumably his home. But here's the thing that like gets like even trippy about this, which we'll definitely get into here in a minute. But all I gotta say is like, the overall experience I felt about that movie was absolutely great, and I cannot recommend enough that you guys go check out the movie. Again, I know that Barbie and Oppenheimer is still, popular, and most people are probably gonna end up kind of watching that a little bit more. But I highly encourage you guys to go check out Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Like, I highly do. And I know some people might say, like, since it's like half of a movie, that kind of like throws it off a bit. But it's like, no, it's not half of a movie. Yes, it was a part series, and I guess it still is. I don't know. But otherwise, it can still be a standalone movie too, which is a beauty. Like, yes, it's a sequel, but it can also stand on its own, just like Into the Spider-Verse. But otherwise, besides all that, um, oh yeah, back to the story a little bit. Now this is where it's gonna get even more spoilery. So this is gonna be real major spoilers, because like this is gonna like talk about the ending and what's most likely gonna happen in the next movie. So Miles Morales ends up in a completely different universe, and he thinks like it's still the same thing. It's just like the hue's a little bit different. Now the colors, like, oh god, guys, the colors is just amazingness. But this one just feels a little bit eerie. Like it feels like something's like clearly off, and there's something like going on, and it just feels really weird. Now we don't know this yet, because afterwards, like, Spider-Gwen also like confronts Miguel about like his whole canon event thing actually mattering all that much, and also just the way that essentially Miguel like kind of treated Miles or whatnot like a piece of garbage essentially, and she could not stand for it. But then she gets sent back to her home universe, and I do want to get to the, as a matter of fact, let's get to with Spider-Gwen before I get to Miles for a bit. But otherwise, because it's all correlated. But yeah, when Spider-Gwen arrives in her own universe or whatnot to essentially go back and then like confront, well, quote unquote, confront her dad about being Spider-Man and whatnot, and just like being accepting and stuff. It's like a very touching moment, because like the colors just like played so well into this, and like man, I don't know what to like describe about this, because like it's like there's like colors that like mix with emotions, because like the blue is like more broody, and green is more like eerie stuff going on, like unknown stuff, and orange is, or red is like more expressive, and then orange, this orange here and a little bit brighter is like a little bit more upbeaty and whatnot. And just like, oh man, that scene with her and Captain Stacy was just so heartwarming to like watch, because they're like both accepting each other, and it was just like it got me, man. It really did. Like it hit me in the feels, because I'm like I can understand the whole being, trying to like be accepted by your parents or whatnot, and I can understand from my other people that that's something that people do struggle with, from sexuality, or just truly being themselves and whatnot, because that's a real thing that people actually do deal with. Heck, to a certain extent, that's something I had to deal with a little bit as a teenager as well, having to essentially accept myself as who I am and stuff. And it's just like something that we all can relate to, because it's a human experience of trying to like figure out who you are essentially, and and just being accepting of that, and more importantly having your parents actually accept you for who you are, which is like even more of a big deal, because like some parents just do not, for any sort of reason, because they live by that rigid statement, like oh, if you're my kid, you need to follow exactly how I followed life or whatnot. And it's complicated to say, but otherwise, they were just like figuring things out for each other, and then like they embraced and stuff, which was awesome to see. And then Spider-Gwen goes out to like, or actually, she gets a present from her father, after they had their nice little warm embrace, which was so fucking great. And it's revealed that Hobbs gave like the portal, he made a portal, handmade portal, that whole time they was like in Spider Society, he was really stealing a lot of like equipment to build a whole homemade portal for his friends. And that's why this is why Hobbs is fucking amazing, and is going to be a key player heading towards Beyond the Spider-Verse, and it's shown at the end. But before we get to the end, it's just like important to like get to these parts here. But that happens, or Gwen gets like the homemade portal to travel to 16110 to go find Miles Morales. And then I just like how they like beautifully like shot like oh, is it Gwen is in the same house, which yes, it's the same house, but the thing is, it just gets like this is just like great cinematography. It's really hard to explain, but it's just like the way that they just like framed like these like shots that you think like they're in the same house or whatnot, and then when it's like Miles is finally like confessing to Rio that he's Spider-Man and whatnot. She says like, "Wait, who's Spider-Man?" Now at first I was like thinking to myself like maybe she's a little bit confused, but then things started to not add up because like afterwards Gwen and enters Miles Morales' room and he's not there, and then like something even bigger happens where it's like Miles steps out to talk to the mom about like hey is my dad gonna like understand about this or whatnot, and then Uncle Aaron arrives, and this is when like Miles Morales realizes, holy shit, I'm in the wrong timeline, I'm in the wrong universe. And it was just so beautifully done. I was like, yo, I lost my mind when I saw that. I was like, oh my god, he's in the wrong universe. It's like that cop out where it's just like you think a certain character is in there, but then it's revealed that this whole time these events are happening completely differently, and it's just like, dude, it gets crazy. Like that one movie with Bruce Willis where that whole like I see dead people, that type of stuff where it's like you think like oh Bruce Willis is still alive or whatnot, but there was like clues like the wife wasn't talking to him whatnot, but it's revealed that that version of Bruce Willis, the character, is dead. It's exactly like that, but take it to a maximum because like Miles Morales is in the wrong universe. And then it just gets even more better. Like afterwards, Miles Morales gets hit in the head, and then like Spider-Gwen's senses goes off, and she tells Miles Morales' parents that he's still out there somewhere, and they'll find him eventually. And then it gets to the best part here, where it's like, after like talk with Uncle Aaron that like, oh, can you please like let me go? Like I really need to get home or whatnot, or like tell him please don't hurt me. I know you're a prowler or whatnot. And like he kind of like just goes like that, but he doesn't hit Miles because he lost the fact that he's the prowler or whatnot. But then it's revealed that the prowler, especially when Uncle Aaron gives like the gauntlet to that version's that universe's version of Prowler, and guess what it's revealed to be. Now at first the Prowler talks about like about Davis. Oh, what I just mentioned, speaking of which, instead of Uncle Aaron being in the memorial or whatnot, like mural, it's actually Officer Davis who ends up being in the mural, and ooh, that hurts. I was like, oh no, that sucks. And then like it starts to make sense, and he gets knocked, and then Miles gets knocked out and stuff, and then afterwards, Prowler, interrogates, Miles Morales, like, oh, about Davis or like, your dad or whatnot. And then when Miles asks, who were you or who are you? The mask, like the thing, it's technology, so it's kind of different. It kind of like does like the Iron Man thing where it goes like, and it's revealed to be Miles Morales or Morales or Miles G. Morales. Basically, Earth 42 Miles Morales is the fucking Prowler. And then just it gets even more crazier because like afterwards, Miles like tells him like, I really need to go home. Like I need to go see my dad, like our dad, and and stuff, and then like afterwards, Miles G or whatever, puts his gauntlet on a bit, does like a smearge on Miles Morales' face. It's this oddly weird moment because it's just like it feels like yes they're kind of pretty much fight, but it feels oddly brother-like where he just kind of goes like boom, puts his arm like this and tells him, and why would I let you go? Now, of course, it's going to lead into something like major that's going to happen, but otherwise it leads off that, and then like we don't get much of that, and then afterwards it ends with like Spider-Gwen with all the gangs, especially from Into Spider-Verse, and also Spider-Punk, Indian Spider-Man, and the Spider-Girl or Digital Spider-Woman or whatever ends up joining, and it's just oh God, Lee, the way that it ended was just such a big cliffhanger. But they're gonna go to like any type of universe that they can find, like their Miles Morales, to pretty much not only like save him but also save the universe, especially try to save him, save Officer Davis, and the whole universe. And it just gets even more crazier, guys. Like, oh my God, I'm so freaking excited for Beyond the Spider-Verse. But otherwise, yeah, it leads off just like that. Like they enter the portal to go find their friend, and that's it. And there was no post credit scene that alludes to anything, so it sucks because the thing is they already did that like one time, and I guess like they're deliberately not doing that for Across the Spider-Verse. But otherwise, guys, it is so good. Like the whole entire story. Like I'm even surprised I'm able to explain it all the way through. But otherwise, it's just it is so good, guys. It is really, 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 really good. Again, words cannot express how much I love Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. It did not disappoint whatsoever. It was just compelling all the way through, and that's how it felt the whole entire time. Was just like, hoping that, Miles Morales can like, go back to his, parents and like finally tell him like, hey, I'm actually Spider-Man, and I'm sorry that I put you through a lot of that, and just having that heartfelt moment with them. But then it's just ripped the freak away as soon as like he enters the wrong universe, and it just God, it's so good, man. God, I was amazed. I was flabbergasted. I was just lots of emotions, man. Like, it was wholesome, it was exhilarating, it was amazing, it was spectacular, it was ultimate, it was everything that you could ask for a Spider-Man movie, especially a very good Spider-Man media. Seriously, like, oh, I'm just so glad that this movie is just that fucking great. And especially the game that's going to be coming out, Spider-Man 2. Like, I cannot wait to play that. And, man, what else can I say other than Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was freaking great. And I think I will also make another video about, talking about the whole situation with, Marvel's current stance on, the comic book. And all I gotta say is, they really have been very disappointing. Like, it just, for a bit, like, afterwards, after, like, realizing, like, they have not done anything worthwhile with the Spider-Man comic books or whatnot, I was like, you know what? Fuck them. Like, straight up fuck them. Like, all they have done thus far has just been just disappointment after disappointment after disappointment, because for some goddamn reason, they cannot age up freaking Peter Parker! And it's just so stupid, because you have Peter B. Parker, who is essentially, at this point, you know what? I don't care if they're going to say, oh, 616 is still canon. No, who's also canon? Peter B. Parker! And that is a canon event. Yeah, I'm calling it. A real canon event should have been Peter Parker actually growing older. That should have happened. You disrupted the canon event. Oh, man. Did I really just turn into Miguel O'Hara on these assholes? You know what? I did. And I don't care, because that should have been a canon event. That should have stayed as is. Why? Again, this like pisses me off. Why is it that Nightwing, Dick Grayson himself, the first Robin, who ends up being Nightwing, stays as Nightwing, never ever reverses status quo in any sort of way possible. And now here's the thing, there's some exceptions to that. In other shows and all that other stuff, yes, he stays as Robin for a bit. But in the canonicity of the comic book and also in other medias, Dick Grayson stays as Nightwing and becomes a compelling character afterwards, like grows as a person because of that. And you would expect maybe like Spider-Man to have the same treatment, but no, they want to keep him young forever because they just want to keep him at a status quo that he always will have, like, you know, more relationship issues and more other this, other that, and you know, it's like keeping him young, keeping him in high school, keeping him in college or whatnot, and just not advancing the story. Especially when they were supposed to like have, you know, Peter Parker and Mary Jane finally being the it couple, but no, they had to do this stupid one more day, and then everything was shit. Well, maybe except for a few comic books that is actually good. You know, one more day, or no, renew your vows. Renew your vows was fucking great, but nope, that's not, and that's considered non-canon for some stupid ass reason. All because Marvel editorial couldn't see that maybe aging up Spider-Man was the best idea possible. And especially if they want to go with the whole, hey, how about we have like a younger, you know, Peter Parker to like relate to for, you know, the younger audience. I don't know. Miles Morales? Like, you have the character. You have Miles Morales in your, you know, comic book. So at that point, why not push him? Because at this point, he's already getting popular. You know, he already had Into the Spider-Verse. He already had, you know, Across the Spiderverse, which is already that great. So why not actually just push him? Anyways, I'm going to save that energy for another time. But otherwise, Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse was really great. I hope you guys enjoy, you know, that movie. If you guys have seen it, let me know in the comments down below of, you know, your predictions of what's going to happen in Beyond the Spider-Verse in the comments down below, and we'll probably speculate on that. And I think I might save that for, you know, a Weep Talk episode of, like, you know, my predictions on Beyond the Spider-Verse. So we'll see how that goes. But anyways, that's all I got to say about the movie. To me, honestly, it's a 9.9 out of 10. Like, that is a perfect, well, close to perfect. But anyways, this is a close to perfect movie possible. I mean possible. Like, seriously, standalone is already that great. I mean, Into the Spider-Verse was already just a masterpiece. The fact that they pretty much, you know, strike the lightning bottle twice is really saying a lot, because sometimes in like other mediums, you know, the sequels don't really do all that well afterwards. You know, trying to like live up to like the first movies or whatnot. Kind of like what happened with Transformers, but otherwise, they pretty much just knock it out the ballpark for two of those movies, and I'm excited that the third movie will be coming out at some point. Not sure if they're gonna still do their original schedule yet. They might have to delay it for another time. If they're gonna do that, you know, I'll wait. I'll definitely wait a little longer, but at the same time, I just hope it's not too long, because, you know, that's kind of what's also like what happened with Attack on Titans, where it's just like they wait too long to actually finish the story, which is just silly considering that Attack on Titans' actual story ended a long ass time ago in the manga. So the fact that they're taking that long in anime is so fucking stupid. So hopefully, you know, they don't do something like that. Of course, you know, they should take some break to, you know, like, you know, rest for a bit. Like, you know, they're human at the end of the day, you know, like, you know, they do this, and I want them to like make such an amazing masterpiece. I just hope it doesn't take them so long, though. Like, please don't let it be any more than like at least 5 years, because if it's any more than 5 years, then yikes, that's gonna be a little iffy. Like, if it's like gonna be 8 years, then okay, that's a bit much. But what I'm saying, like, at a minimum, I hope it's gonna be at least in between 3 or 5 years, or heck, even 2 years. I don't know. But otherwise, all I'm saying is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is that great. Please go check it out. And I will be talking about, you know, my predictions on Beyond the Spider-Verse. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So anyways, let me know in the comments down below if you guys enjoyed Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse, and also just tell me what your like favorite Spider-Man is, because I know mine's is Spider-Punk, and of course Miles Morales is still a boy. Peter B. Parker will always be go tier, and just so many more. I think I'll make like a top 5 or just top 10 like most favorite Spider-Mans that I love, and it's gonna be really really good. But anyways, let me know in the comments down below if you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you give a like, comment, and subscribe for more good nerd stuff. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I hope you guys one day watch Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse if you guys have not seen it, and just go check it out because it's that amazing. And yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say. Anyways, I gotta go. Stay peaceful, stay awesome, stay being amazing, stay being ultimate, stay being your truest version of yourself. Because like the wise man once said, and rest in peace to him, but I'm gonna say it. Anyone can wear the mask. Yep, like anybody, including you. You can wear the Spider-Man mask, and as a matter of fact, not only just anyone can wear the mask. As a matter of fact, anyone can be Spider-Man. I can be Spider-Man. You can be Spider-Man. Your dog can be Spider-Man. Your cat can be Spider-Man. Hell, even your koala bear can be a Spider-Man. Anybody can be a Spider-Man. Because what are we all? Just, bunch of Spider-Mans. Anyways, I'll see you guys later. Stay peaceful, stay amazing, and I'll see you guys in another video. Peace. Boom!